I've come to love that tune because that means the arrival of our little chum. Spencer Oliver is in studio with us this Thursday lunchtime. Spencer, good afternoon to you, mate. A lot to get through in the next hour, not least this. The Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn launch last night. Of course, the two will fight again later in the year. No eggs, but some tense back and forths. How did it play out?
Yeah, it was a weird atmosphere, really, at the press conference in light of what had just happened with Ricky Hatton, and I think Conor Benn was very emotional. Didn't really say too much because of his connection with Ricky Hatton. You know, he first come over to England from Sydney. Ricky took him under his wing. He trained up there with Ricky. So there was a lot of emotions flying around. And Chris Eubank Jr., as always, a genius at what he does in those press conferences, was talking, wouldn't allow Eddie to talk, and kept
Hearn
shutting him down. And yeah, it was an unusual press conference because of the circumstances surrounding Ricky Hatton.
And on that, there was a bit of a jarring moment, wasn't it? Because Eddie Hearn wanted to talk and I think maybe pay some kind of tribute to Ricky Hatton. And Eubank Jr. wouldn't let him and closed him down, shut him down.
Absolutely. I think that what happened was this was sort of middle of the press conference. So Eubank Jr. had it in his head exactly what he was going to say, where he was going. And, like I say, he's great at that. He's a tremendous salesman, for sure. And he was talking about various things that had happened to him and the wrongs of what was going on in the dressing rooms and after the fight when he was dehydrated and couldn't get out of the venue and he feels that he was blocked in there. They weren't allowing the ambulances out. All sorts of shenanigans going on. Eddie Hearn then said, look, can we pay respects to Ricky Hatton? At this time, he was going, Eddie, and he just kept shutting him down. And I think people found that a disrespect. But I don't think Chris meant anything by that. I think he was totally tunnel visioned into what he was saying.
Oh, I think, did he not?
No. I know what I'm saying is I think he was totally, because he released a statement after saying, look, I loved Ricky Hatton. I pay respects to Ricky Hatton. And I think the timings, I just think that he got caught up in the moment more so. But of course, it looked disrespectful on the surface of it.
It did look
disrespectful
at the time,
on the surface.
I mean, do you think that Eubank Jr. should have shut up then and stopped this onslaught on Hearn?
Yeah, but I'm inclined
to allow Eddie to talk about Hatton.
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't think there was any intention to be disrespectful of Chris Eubank Jr. I think his disrespect would be levied at Eddie Hearn or Conor Benn for the reasons that he may well have. But I don't think he did want to have illustrated any disrespect to Ricky Hatton. I don't think Chris Eubank Jr. is that way inclined. I think he's quite available to understand the challenges of the world, and I think he's quite bright. So I think it's just a circumstance. Some might say that maybe Eddie should have waited for a better opportunity to have mentioned Ricky Hatton when there wasn't this vitriol going back and forward, or maybe set up the opening of the press conference by saying, before we start this press conference, I'd like to pay tribute to one of the greatest fighters this country's had.
They paid big tribute at the beginning of the press conference as well. We had Ricky Hatton things playing when he was a kid, boxing and going through his career, etc. So it was very
poignant.
Yeah, poignant, for sure.
And I think tributes were paid.
I think it was all just timing, Jim, and I don't think there's no wrong and right in what happened there. I think it was just... Well, it was just caught in the moment.
I mean, that to one side. I mean, we do have to pick up, and whether we're going to do it now or later, we do have to pick up Chris Eubank Jr. on his observations because they are utter drivel.
Well, I'm glad,
utter drivel.
You've taken us right to that. So let's get into this then. There were all sorts of allegations from Chris Eubank Jr. at yesterday's presser as to what actually happened after the fight. The fight, of course, won by Eubank Jr. Over Conor Benn. But then he was in an ambulance. They were trying to get him away from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And then it all got extremely seamy between Eubank Jr. and Eddie Hearn. Have a listen.
After the fight, due to severe dehydration, I'm put in an ambulance and I have to go to hospital. I was actually so dehydrated that one of the toenails on my big toe fell off. It actually fell off. It's grown back about halfway now. But anyway, I'm in this ambulance.
Jesus, not a toenail.
I'm in the ambulance. And
you still got it?
These scumbags blocked that ambulance from leaving the stadium for 20 minutes.
By the way, this is an interesting... I'll keep going because this is all being noted because it's absolute waffle.
20 minutes.
Waffle.
Waffle. I'm laying there in a gurney, oxygen mask on, and the car cannot move. They will not open the gates to let us leave.
Sorry, who won't open the gates?
Now, if this was a serious injury that I had sustained, that 20 minutes...
Chris, I want to know who wouldn't open the gates. It's important.
That 20 minutes...
You can't answer that, can you?
Could have been the difference between life and death.
You talk you do.
And while this was all happening, Conor Benn and Eddie Hearn are in here talking to the media, lying about how I had a broken jaw and that was the reason why I was going to hospital. Artists of the highest degree.
Chris, can we get one thing clear? Can you just confirm that you are accusing us?
I am
Matchroom?
Or yes.
Okay, say it.
You guys
say it.
Me from
say it.
Out.
Say it.
You know, because
Matchroom.
Who else? Who else
okay.
would have been?
Go on, say it.
Why was
say
I?
It.
Why was I in an ambulance?
Say that Matchroom stops you from going to the hospital.
Why was I what? So you can try and sue me with your little lawyer?
Not at all. Don't worry about that. Okay. I think you're talking about the wrong guy. Say it.
To be up here.
Say it.
These are the levels.
You talk.
These are the levels.
We stopped you from going because your toenail was falling off.
These people
heard it all now.
I was at the fight, and then I saw you, Spencer. In the aftermath, I was inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Simon, and I was talking to Conor Benn. And the general chat was, Eubank Jr., he's off to hospital. He's gone to hospital. And there was no discussion that anything untoward had been going on, was going on, or was likely to go on. What is your take on that? Because Hearn, as you heard, is trying to get Eubank Jr. to commit. We stood in your way, basically, as you tried to leave in an ambulance.
But the fact of the matter is, this is the narrative they have to spin up for this particular fight now, because now it seems to be the conversation is between Eddie Hearn and Chris Eubank Jr. I thought he was fighting Conor Benn. I thought that was the interesting fight side of things. And I'm tired of this. Listen, it was a good fight, and lots of people give it a lot of commendations. But I'm tired of this nonsense that's being spun out there and being bought into. The reasons why, in part, Chris Eubank Jr. had to go to hospital because of the dehydration is because he elected to take £1 million bonus to not have a rehydration clause. So why does everybody else have to be so concerned about his health if he's not concerned about it himself? And this narrative has got to stop being spun out. Now, it's ridiculous. I mean, as much as I have my issues with Eddie, I happen to think he's probably the financially best sports promoter in the world, as he'll tell you, no doubt, on his Netflix series, every time everyone gets an opportunity to listen to it. But this idea that Eddie Hearn or people like Eddie Hearn would have been stopping an ambulance on an environment that Eddie Hearn doesn't own, is renting from Tottenham Hotspur, and the responsibility for the stadium and its policing of it would in part fall on Tottenham Hotspur and its management, is just ridiculous. And the only thing I can think of is this is the shtick that this fight is going to have some of its press conference and some of the hype around it and some of the clickbait opportunities to regain the interest that people supposedly already have in it.
Is it dangerous talk from Eubank?
It's just air. It's nonsense.
Well, it is dangerous talk because I think he was making some very strong accusations there, and you know, Eddie was trying to force his hand by saying, "Come on, say it, just say it.
Yeah.
You know where you're going to end up. We're going to end up in court here." So, Chris,
and Eubank was saying it could have been a matter of life or death.
Absolutely. Look,
if he'd been badly injured.
This is the first we've heard of it. You know, after the fight, as you said, Jim, we were all there, and we'd heard that Chris had gone away in an ambulance. He was on his way to hospital for rehydration.
By the way, if he's so concerned about that situation, why is he fighting the same weight again?
With the same contract, same rehydration clause.
It's nonsense, utter nonsense. And Eddie's a big boy; he can take care of himself. He likes the rough and tumble of it, and he's sure he wanted to elicit some response. He's already got his backside smacked by Frank Warren for saying silly things. Chris Eubank Jr. Yeah. He won't go so far. And he's okay. You get your silly little lawyers involved. No, the alternative is, Chris, you don't get to say what you want.
Well, what we do know, Simon, in the boxing side of things, it's one hell of a rivalry. After all the great fight events of 2025, where will Eubank Benn, this period with these two, where will it sit in people's minds in terms of their highlights? Will it be an event that lands in most fans' top three?
Well, I personally think, because I think
it's got to be.
It was a great event, Simon. It was incredible, the atmosphere and what they both left in the ring.
Listen to what he's saying. He's saying, in the great scheme of things, of British rivalries that have gone on, where will this rank? pack it in. Neither of these fighters have actually won anything. It's
not about that.
It's confected confrontation based upon a legacy of their two fathers. Are you seriously telling me that you're going to put this up with some of the great British fights and rivals we had over the years?
Over the years, this was definitely up there. You can't deny that was a great fight there, and the rivalry
That's not what he said.
Speaks for itself.
That's not what he said.
You said about being in the top three.
In the greatest rivalries between British fighters over the years, whether you put Frank Bruno against Lennox Lewis
Name me your top three.
Of British rivalries. I mean, I've just given you one.
Do you
I've
not
given
think
you Lennox Lewis and Frank
big
Bruno.
British rivalry then?
Well, I think it's a confected one. If you take out their parents' achievements,
but they're there.
Those two would be what?
No,
they'd be fighting for 50 grand.
Yeah, I know, but that's the point, that the parents' achievements are there and they are their father's sons, and that creates the rivalry, surely.
Okay, the difference.
If you just take the year of 2025. It's got to be up there amongst the top three most intense rivalries. I mean, Wardley Hunis. Forget that.
That's not a rivalry, is it?
Bivol Beterbiev. Smith Buatsi.
But that's a sporting rivalry, isn't it? It's a sporting rivalry. Beterbiev Bivol is a sporting rivalry between two great fighters competing for the ultimate prize of being the undisputed champion in their weight class. That has a sporting rivalry. What we're confecting is a social rivalry because it suits the media to do so by building up the backstory. I think
you're
a load of
boxing matchup.
I think it's...
past Chris Eubank Jr. and you've got Chris Eubank Jr. who was dehydrated from being at a weight class that he shouldn't be at. If you want to make that the story, then fantastic, but I'm not going to. And everyone else can, and that's fine, and they can turn around and say, I'm a mean-spirited
In terms of boxing event, and you are, incidentally, in terms of boxing events, it's got to be top three.
I totally agree with that. I do think it's top three. Simon, I think that most people would agree with me.
You try to sell me Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul,
listen,
so
you keep going back to that one, but we're talking about real fights here. We're talking about real fights.
I know you're super happy.
And that was a real fight. You cannot deny that. That was insane. What we saw in there, we got a little bit of everything.
Were you at Wardley Hunis?
Of course it was. Yeah, Wardley Hunis. Yeah.
Where does this
fight Ole
how does this compare?
It doesn't compare. It was a great fight, but it doesn't compare to what we got there.
He's not. First of all, it's not a British rivalry because he's an Antipodean. Secondly, Uli Hunis is not really fight a German footballer.
A boxing event. Wardley Hunis.
Justice Hunis.
Now you decided, Simon. You told the world, I'm going to that at Portman Road.
I think it's a proper fight.
I'm going to make an effort and I'm going to go.
I think it's a proper fight.
Well,
now, had you been,
do you think
had you been at
was
Eubank,
a better fight than Eubank Ben?
From the point of view of what it actually...
No, as a spectacle.
Well, I'll answer the question. What it represented to me was a legitimate fight for legitimate reasons. This is just a land grab. The second fight, this fight here now, and the public are such wallies to buy into this. Right? This is a pup. This is two people that are fighting for nothing besides your money. And that's fantastic if that's what you want. Not for me.
But it's a great fight.
It's a great fight. Will it be a sellout again, Spence? You bet it will.
And it'll be bigger numbers than the first one.
Give them what they want. Give the fans what they want. I agree.
But the public are wallies. It's Thursday lunchtime, and we're live on talkSPORT. Canelo Crawford, did it live up to its billing, Spence?
It was a great fight. It was what we expected with what was on the line for both guys, and I think for Terence Crawford becoming a freeweight undisputed world champion and the first male boxer to do that, to achieve that, was a phenomenal feat. I think a lot of people writ him off, myself and Simon. We got this one right, Simon.
We did.
A rare victory for myself and Simon. We sort of saw it the way that it was going to go. And yeah, it was a great performance. Canelo was a little bit too slow off the mark. Round 9 was a fantastic round. And if we would have had more of that, it would have gone down in history as a great fight. But it was still, take nothing away from both guys. It lived up to expectations.
I mean, what is next for Crawford? Are there still more Everests to climb?
Well, when you look at what this guy's achieved and he's still undefeated in 42 fights, you go, what next for him? He won't defend the undisputed world super middleweight titles. I don't think that he belongs at that weight division.
Can't go to light heavy.
He's gone. No, but he can go to middleweight though. So he can drop down to middleweight, come back down again, and look at Carlos Adames, who's a WBC champion,
who beat Hamza Shiraz.
Who beat Hamza Shiraz. That's a great fight for him. Or he can look to try and become undisputed, possibly in the middleweight division. I think that you're right, Simon. He's light heavy's too much, but he was super welterweight champion, jumped up 2 weights to super middle. Now, if he wants to achieve any more middleweight division, it is.
I mean, it's a 3-fight deal for Canelo with Riyadh season with Turki Al Sheikh. So where does he go from here, Simon? If it's 2 more fights and out, who might be on that wish list?
Rematch.
I totally agree. The rematch will possibly happen next, and then.
Do people want to see it again?
I think people would want to see it again. Yeah, I think it was a great fight. It was an intriguing fight. You know, Canelo needs to make a few little adjustments. I don't think he can. But I think for Canelo, in the position that he's in and what he's achieved, you go, he has to go over old ground. Otherwise, where do you go?
Yeah. Interestingly, it was the first time in 7 years that Canelo Alvarez had woken up from a fight and hadn't been a reigning boxing world champion. He'd been in possession of at least one title belt ever since his rematch win over Golovkin in 2018.
If you listen to Paulie Malignaggi, he'll tell you the reasons for that. You know, he came on this show and didn't miss, did he? In terms of his perception of Canelo Alvarez or Saul Alvarez, and turns around about the amount of fighters that he's ducked and how he's orchestrated and engineered. And I think that's a bit harsh, but I think there is some resonance in there. But I mean, the only thing that was controversial about that fight was the appalling judging scoring, some from the AI guys. But I mean, how one of the judges gave it 115, 113 is beyond me. I mean, the outcome was so conclusive. I mean, I gave Terence Crawford a minimum 8 rounds, with three to Saul Alvarez, and maybe the first round tied.
Yeah, I had it 117, 111. And if you're trying to create an argument, a debate, then you can go 116, 112, and people may call you delusional for coming to 116, 112. Anything shorter than that is crazy.
Intriguingly enough, Spencer, I mean, strange judging and the sequences of judging very much to the fore next, because we're going to be joined by IBF World Welterweight Champion Lewis Crocker. He's right here in studio this Thursday lunchtime, as we always do, in the company of Spencer Oliver. We've been Jim Whyte and Simon Jordan live on talkSPORT. Now, here's the thing, Spence. We look forward to this one. Lewis Crocker claimed the vacant IBF welterweight title with a split decision win against Paddy Donovan at Windsor Park, Belfast, at the weekend. It was in some ways a night of vindication for Lewis in this rematch, having won the first meeting between the pair back in March by disqualification. And as if by magic, Lewis Crocker is here in studio with Simon, Spencer and myself. Lewis, good afternoon to you. The dust is settled. How do you reflect on Saturday night?
Oh, what a night Saturday night was, mate. Every day that I wake up, mate, I just, like, I'm a world champion, do you know what I mean? It's like everything I ever dreamed of as a kid, and everything's happening now. And to do it in Belfast at Windsor Park as a big underdog, it's just everything about it was amazing. The first All-Irish world title fight as well. Do you know what I mean? So to make history on Saturday means everything to me.
Windsor Park, he's right. I mean, what did that mean to you?
Oh, mate, like, I remember I was warming up and I could see, like, there was a drone shot of the stadium. And it's like, this is happening right now. Do you know what I mean? And going out there to the fans and everyone singing, it was just, like, the night couldn't have been any better.
So you was on the undercard, actually, of Cole Frampton some 7 years before that, right, at Windsor Park, and that was the last time they actually had a fight there. For you to be topping the bill there must have been some buzz, man.
Oh, mate, like, that's the first world title fight at Windsor Park as well, do you know what I mean? So I think it was only my 6th fight or something that time round. So, like, it's crazy because it felt like just yesterday that I was doing that fight, and I fought for a world title there now, so it's crazy how time flies.
It was incredible, the amount of controversy surrounding that first fight, with you throwing that shot and the bell ringing, getting hit with that shot as the bell rang, and, you know, Donovan getting disqualified. It called for a rematch. It made it bigger. It made it better. And you changed tactics there. Billy Nelson's a great boxing student, and you changed tactics. You was holding back more. You was catching the more eye-catching punches, but he was delivering more, and we ended up with controversy again with some of the scoring there.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, if you look at the fight, you know, I knocked Donovan down twice. There's not a mark on me. I landed the more cleaner shots, the more hurtful shots, and the judge has seen that. Do you know what I mean?
But that's what I was telling the guys in there. I said it's what you go for. It comes down to subjective scoring, what the judge likes, because you was landing the eye-catching shots and the knockdown in the 3rd round and the 5th round. The 5th round, the bell actually saved him. He was gone then, to be fair. The bell couldn't have come at a better time. But he was landing more volume, and it's what you go for, isn't it? And I think that's what it comes down to here. So you're always going to have controversy surrounding a contest that goes that way.
Of course, do you know what I mean? And people can have their opinions, anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you know what I mean? And everyone has one. But at the end of the day, the people who matter most are the ones with the best seats in the house, and they scored it in favour of me. And you know, just hearing that, and like you seen, there was a close fight. Do you know what I mean? Like just when I was hearing 114, 113. Do you know, it was that close of a fight at the end, but just hearing Belfast, Northern Ireland, it meant everything to me.
How did you approach the second fight, Lewis? Because you went into the first fight as the favourite. Most people felt that Paddy Donovan, me included, was winning that fight, and most people, including myself and Spencer, picked Paddy Donovan to win the second fight. Ooh. So how? And Spencer actually thinks he did. Whether he's going to say it now or not is a different matter.
You thought?
I thought he'd done enough in the second. That's what I said to you.
But my question was, having gone into the first fight as the favourite, all the ramifications of the first fight, going into the second fight now with people expecting Paddy Donovan, us included, what was your mental approach to that? What was your thinking behind the way you approached the fights?
Look, you could see in the first fight that what I was doing wasn't working whatsoever, so we had to change tactics completely. Donovan's a world-class fighter, and there's no doubt that he will be world champion one day. So I had to make him miss. And like, who would have thought? Nobody would have thought I'd be the one who was countering Donovan. Do you know what I mean? So I just had to change things, and I knew he was a far better fighter than what I showed the first time round. And I showed that on Saturday.
Was he surprised, Lewis, that you changed tactics? So
definitely. You know,
vividly.
Like he was confident when we went to touch gloves, and he says no excuses. You know, I was at the start, but as soon as them knockdowns happened, like I could see that the scar on his face. You know, that was a different fight. So it was a completely different fight. And you seen in the corner, like they were saying, you need this round to him. Do you know what I mean? And if there was like 10 seconds left on that bell in the fifth, I'd have put him out of there.
But that's not easy to do, to change tactics like that, because you're known as a certain sort of fight that comes forward, you're aggressive, very heavy-handed, as we saw in that fight and the first fight as well. But to change tactics like that, it's not an easy thing for a boxer to do, and like, because you come with a totally different game plan that probably surprised him, because the rounds that you did nail him in the third, and especially in the fifth when he went over, that was a heavy knockdown. You was taking your time, you was waiting for the opportunity. He come forward throwing the shots, momentarily switched off, and you nailed him on it. But that was all the game plan, right? And that's not easy.
No, it's not easy, and that's the thing as well. Like, people say, is like, you know, like, you had him hurt, why didn't you go out in the sixth? But I was like, I want to stay disciplined, so it did. And I was like, imagine I go out in the sixth and I go to put it on him, clash of heads, you get caught. You know, it was like things are going right. So I stuck to my game plan, and it came out well.
Did you feel like you was winning the fight, going through there? You obviously knew it was close, but did you feel like you was always winning the fight?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I knew, like, when I was in there, like, if he was hitting me 5 times, but they were missing their hitting the shoulder thing, when I was hitting him, it was flush. Do you know what I mean? And like, so I was assuming there was winning the rounds, and I just knew, like, with obviously 2 knockdowns, it puts me 4 rounds up no matter what.
And you're totally unmarked, as you say.
Unmarked, like,
I'm sitting right beside you in the studio, Lewis.
Yeah, completely.
But it's a testament, isn't it? It's a testament to Lewis that he changed the style he thought was fighting.
Absolutely.
It shows the length and breadth of the quality of the fighter.
So you're a world champion now, but the 7-year journey, just touch on that for me. What's that been like?
Oh, ups and downs, like, the whole way. Like, you could see, I always say, like, everything's meant to happen for a reason, and just like the stars aligned, like Jerron Ennis moving up, like just everything happening at that moment. And I was off for like a year and a half. Like, I hadn't had a fight in a year and a half, like 2 years ago, but like before going over, like, to see Billy and stuff. So just to be vindicated now, do you know what I mean? And just like all the hard work paying off, it's great.
Did you ever doubt yourself that you might not get to where you've got to today?
No, because I think that's the only thing that kept me in boxing. I was like, never give up on the dream. Like, no matter, like, I was working for Vodafone, like, about 5 years ago, you know, like, while boxing as well, because like you need to put money, you need to get money and stuff. So it's just, that was the thing. Always never give up on the dream, and I'm glad I paid off.
I was speaking to somebody last night that you know well, and he was saying Conor Benn. He'd love Conor Benn. Would you?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think domestically that's the biggest fight you can make. I never had any bargaining chip to get that fight, but now I'm a world champion now, so we're both in Matchroom. Both are 2 exciting fighters, and I think it's a great fight to make.
I tell you what, guys, we're going to hit a quick break. We'll come back, and Lewis, stay with us, because we'll take you right through until 1 o'clock. Stay with us. My goodness, there's a lot of love out there for this fella. Lewis Crocker in studio with Spencer, Simon and myself. Lewis claimed the vacant IBF at welterweight title with a split decision over Paddy Donovan at Windsor Park, Belfast at the weekend. And now we're discussing what might be next for Lewis. And Simon, a lot of nice messages coming in saying this fella has got a big future.
Oh, absolutely.
And
we're all thrilled for him because we can see what it means to him. I just got a text from Paul Smith, who I really like and do talk boxing with me and Spencer. And he just said plenty of us wrote Lewis off after the first fight. They got it spot on tactically, and he made a lot of us eat our words. Delighted for him. And that's the overall. And we're sitting across the studio from him, looking at him, at how much it means to him and what it will mean to him going forward. And we're thrilled for him as well.
Yeah, so indeed.
Great.
In the passing, do you guys, as top fighters, do you have complete faith, Lewis, in the judging in your sport? Well, complete faith.
Yeah, listen, you don't know what happens in boxing. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've seen like a lot of decisions go either way and stuff, but try not to think about that and just try and focus on yourself.
I mean, on Saturday night when the fight's over, before the announcement, do you think, I think I've done enough? I've done enough, have I? I mean, do you question yourself?
Of course, like you don't know what's going to happen in that, and like especially like over 12 rounds, you know, and like what you just don't know. Wow.
And also, Jim, with some of the scoring that we see today, and you go to a fight that goes close like that, and you go it's subjective one way or the other, you go, it's all about the boxing gods and what one's with you, because it is one of those. You just go like, you don't know when it goes out. As a fighter, you get in there and you sort of think, yeah, I'm winning the rounds, I'm just nicking the rounds, whatever, but you just don't know when it's like that.
I suppose the controversy of the first fight might have kept, I don't want to use the expression loosely, but kept the judging honest in terms of there was so much controversy in the first fight that they were going to be very, very focused on making sure that there wasn't any controversy on the second fight, and with the advent of a world title being strapped into it as well. But IBF, welterweight champion of the world.
Yeah, it's a big one, mate. It's a big one.
Absolutely.
I bet you it sounds great. We spoke briefly there going into the break about Conor Benn. There's a number of names on the list. Before we get Lewis's take on it, you two know the fight game inside out. What do you see next for Lewis?
Well, if you,
on this journey, Spencer?
If you're talking about voluntary...
Some money.
Yeah. Where the money goes.
Shows the money.
You got people like Jack Catterall, Echo Esserman, who just come off a good victory over Josh Taylor. Go, they're domestic fights that could happen for the world title and would be easy to make. Obviously,
get another belt.
We have Mario Barrios. He's the WBC champ. You know, Brian Norman Jr., he's the WBO champ. There's a world of opportunity. Teofimo Lopez. You've got Devin Haney. There's big names there. And this guy now, he's got a target on his back. Everyone wants him. He's now the man to beat because he's got that strap. And when you've got the strap, then he should be able to cash in with that and hopefully get the victories and go on and secure a beautiful future for him and his family.
I mean, these are big names that Spencer's reeling off, aren't they?
Sure. He's a world champion, so he's in that company. So it's important that he's guided the right way, looked after the right way. If he's got a voluntary next, this should be the voluntary on his terms. Nick Bull had a voluntary, came back to Anfield, took the fight. People said, oh, okay, it's a voluntary and it's not that level. Well, he has taken hold of his own career opportunity and destiny, and it's now those around him have got to guide him properly and look after him and make sure he gets the right fights at the right time for the right money and gets paid and then recognised at the same time. If he gets other belts along the way, fabulous. But the one thing he's got, I mean, this is a strap that I went and saw that Lloyd Hunnigan go and win off Donald Curry, in terms of that, that sort of level of performance. These are the sort of iconic names that are coming out in this weight class. This is a brilliant weight class, and he's a bona fide world champion. And I look forward to him really doing well for himself.
They're all talking about you.
That's it.
We're all talking about you. So what do you think?
Yeah, like
you confident about anybody?
Of course, yeah. And you mentioned like you've so many big names there. Like you give your Teofios and then your Brian Garcias and Devin Haney's, and I'm looking at the other champions as well. You know, your Brian Normans, you have your Barrios, and then we're talking about Ben as well. So it's like there's huge opportunities there, like life-changing opportunities there. Like, and it's just nice to be on that pedestal now with them names. Do you know what I mean? Like
Barrios is a nice fight, mate. WBC strap, and I look at that, and I look at the styles, and I go,
I know, mate. Yeah,
I'm fancying you in that one, mate. That would be like, and then unifications. You go, wow, the whole thing's come. What an opportunity, man!
For sure.
Lewis, we're talking about Conor Benn going in again against Chris Eubank Jr. What do you make of it all? They had their presser again last night, and it all starts again. It's some circus, isn't it?
It's crazy. Like watching the first fight delivered on every aspect. So the build up, the fight. It was senior.
Tell Simon that, mate.
Well, as a fan for me, it did. But I was at the press conference yesterday, and It was there. It was interesting. So I'm looking forward to the next one.
What do you make of Conor Benn, the fighter?
It's a great fighter. Tough, ruthless. Like you could see it like in his persona. So, but listen, Conor's always said good things about me, so I can't disrespect him.
Do you think he can get victory this time? Do you think he's got it?
Yeah, I think he could get victory. Yeah.
Who do you think starts favourite?
Eubank. I thought I had Eubank win the fight last time, so I did.
Yeah.
I just think the weight maybe is too big, but I mean, like the last fight take too much out of Eubank as well. Do you know what I mean? He's getting older as well, and you've the rehydration and everything with that. So it's an interesting one.
What did you think of that first fight at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? Was it certainly one of the top 3 in the year?
Do you not agree? No.
Ignore them. Lewis. Look at me, mate.
Fury.
What did you think? Was it up there? Was it top 3?
I loved it. So I did. Well, personally, I loved it. So I did. Yeah, it was the top 3 for me for sure.
We got there. Well done.
Fighting Witherspoons.
It certainly was amongst the top 3 for many people, many fight fans around the country. Lewis, before we go, want to finish today. Obviously, it's a somewhat sad note because it was very sad news earlier in the week when the news came through, the announcement of the death of the former world champion Ricky Hatton at the age of 46. And everybody in the fight game, everybody in the country was hit hard by this because he's such a popular figure. And you were amongst them. What was your reaction? Because he's been a big influence on you, has he?
Of course. Like Ricky Hatton was the first like idol of mine boxing. Like I always remember like watching him, and it was just from a kid. Like I knew like that's a man of the people. Do you know what I mean? That's someone like who everyone gets behind. And Hatton was my favorite fighter. Like I used to have a dog, and I named him Hatton. Like that's how much I love this guy. Do you know what I mean? So an absolute terrible loss to the boxing community, and rest in peace. Like
it is one of those, Spencer, isn't it? That everyone has been hit so hard by this because of the popularity of the man.
It's a hard pill to swallow for sure. Like no one expected it. No one saw it coming. That was the tough thing about it. We know that he was struggling with mental health. He had that issue over the years, but no one saw this coming. And I think the boxing world, especially, were devastated. They're numb by it, and we saw that at the press conference last night. I think that was the first time I've been in the boxing community sort of coming together, and there was a weird, subdued sort of atmosphere around it. And yeah, we've got this great rematch going on, but it felt more about Ricky Hatton really there, and I think even with the fighters as well. So yeah, it was a tough loss, man. It really is.
I mean, you guys, we should finish with you, Spencer, and you, Lewis. You guys know what it's like to go in the ring. How will you remember? I'll ask you first, Lewis. How will you remember Ricky Hatton?
I will always remember Ricky Hatton with the fans, just the love, the love that everyone had for Ricky Hatton was insane, and it'll always be like that.
And I think that, Ricky Hatton's style, he fought with his heart on his sleeve. He delivered. He was a fan favourite. He was the kid from the council estate, and people could relate to him, and I think that's why he took 30,000 fans over to see him box Mayweather. He took 20,000 fans over to America to see him box Pacquiao, 10,000, against Luis Castillo. And you look at that and you go, no one else is ever going to do that again. And the reason for that is because he was the kid next door. When he boxed Costa Tszyu in 2005, you got to say, he probably had a pint with everyone that was actually in that place because that was that kid. So
that was a fight, Simon, wasn't it?
I went to
Costa Tszyu.
Yeah, I went to it, yeah.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, I sat next to the late Dean Powell, who was a great boxing observer. And at the time, Frank Maloney was sitting in front of me, and I watched the fight. The atmosphere was fabulous. The performance was outstanding. He caught Costa Tszyu at the right time. But you never forget the reaction of him and Billy Graham, do you?
No.
In terms of rolling around the canvas. And it's a very sad loss. He is a true British great fighter, a British icon, a great world-level fighter, even in the losses to Pacquiao. The Pacquiao one, I think he took harder. The Mayweather one, he didn't like Mayweather because he didn't like Mayweather's attitude. And I remember doing the podcast with him up front, and he took the mickey out of Mayweather about how many people would want a photograph of him and his watch, Whereas I can go and people want to see me and want to speak to me because they can relate to me.
Yeah.
It's a tragic loss to a great fighter.
Ricky Hatton. As for you, Mr. Crocker, when will we see you again? In the ring, I mean.
Yeah. So I'll have a talk with Eddie, matchroom, my manager and stuff. But, as I said earlier, I don't have a mark on me, and I'm ready to go again, so I am. So get the talks first, but probably sooner than you think.
You're a world champion. Congratulations, Lewis.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much for being with us. Lewis Crocker, who took it at the weekend, the vacant IBF welterweight title. Split decision, but Lewis won it. Spencer, I thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I might be in the audience tonight. You might hear me heckling you at the London
There is a
Palladium.
discerning clientele that we require in the Palladium, and you are not one of them.
I see.
Please be in the audience, Jim. We need someone.
I know, he's on the stage with, can you believe it, Neil Warnock in the London Palladium. My goodness, what is selling these days? Michael Duff, I'm reliably informed, is set to be named the new Wycombe manager. Well done to you, Michael. We're coming up to 1 o'clock.